this is going to be a pretty heavy loaded workshop, and hopefully we will make it in time. But well, we'll be starting with the intro, basically what this workshop is and what it isn't. And then we will start with the project setup. We will get our environments up and running so that everyone are on the same page and can start working. After that, we will start with the Vue router. How can we use it to basically to create the navigation of our page? Then we will see how to fetch data and handling loading states for our application. After that, we'll be seeing Vuex, how to store and share data between components. After that first half, we will be seeing form validation. Basically, try to do a form and validate it the Vue way we should be doing it. And finally, we're gonna just really quick see Vue test utils to create a test for a component. At the end, we will have a Q&A session, as I mentioned before. If there's something we didn't cover, you can basically ask anything around Vue and, well, its ecosystem. All right, so, well, now that I mentioned we were gonna explain what this workshop is, but first, what this workshop isn't. This is not an intro to Vue, so probably if you don't know Vue.js, you won't enjoy it as if you knew it, because I won't be explaining basic topics, right? I'll try to go to more advanced topics, like if assuming you know Vue.js already and have used it before. This is also not an HTML, CSS, or JavaScript course, so I'm not gonna be explaining well, things like the styles of the components we're gonna be using. Most of them are already done and set up, so I won't explain that on like too deep. JS has a little asterisk because we will learn some JS tips because Vue works with JavaScript, right? So yeah, we will learn JS, but not necessarily it's a JS course. This is not another to-do app, so if you've already done those for every language that there exists, don't worry, this is not gonna be that. And also, this is not a design system workshop, so if this is not a workshop to learn how to create design systems, and probably the components we're gonna be using are not made for a design system. But what this workshop is a workshop to learn Vue.js best practices. If you already know Vue.js, this is gonna step up your game and help you have clean code. Also, this is to learn how to use all of Vue tools for, well, all of the ecosystem of Vue, which is for routing, for state management, and debugging, and testing. I forgot to add that at the end. It's for people that are tired to making to-do apps, because this is like a more real app, and you're gonna see that in a few minutes. Okay, so the idea is that you are in the middle of this. In the left is people that have just read about Vue and probably follow a tutorial. You should be more in the middle. You should have used Vue in the past and probably done a pet project. And after this course, you'll be more on the right, where you'll know Vue and its ecosystem, and also you'll be able to use it to create a client solution. All right, so probably some of you might be asking, why should you trust that I know Vue.js? And well, the thing is that I'm a close friend of Evan You, which is the creator of Vue. And that's why he just tells me all of his secrets. And no, just kidding. The real facts. We've been working with Vue for more than 3 years. Also, I've written blog posts about making some components with Vue.js. You can go to this link. By the way, we're going to be sharing the presentation most likely, so that if you don't follow, so that you don't need to write all of the links I'm clicking. And well, you can find them on dev to these posts. Also, I've deployed over 20 sites and apps. Well, not just me, but me and my team. And including one of these sites is a site with nearly 2 billion visitors in a month. And that's basically a top 10 news site in the United States. And if you don't believe me, there's like my login. Okay, so now let's get RD and let's start with the project setup. You should have received an email or at least some way you should have known that you need to have Node installed and npm. If you go to your terminal and try Node V, you should be seeing the version of Node. Let's try it here. And it's okay if it's not the same version, but as long as the version shows, that's fine. And well, as long as it's not super low, like probably above 6 is okay. But you'll find out if your version is okay when we install the dependencies. Also, something important is the Vue dev tools. This is really useful when developing with Vue. So if you have it, you can open you can click here in inspect. It will show your browser console, and you should see a Vue tab when we are running the project. Probably right now you won't see it, but you should see it in your extensions. Probably, sorry, I need to drag this. Oh yeah, there it is. Sorry, I have too many extensions. And also, it's recommended but not necessary VS Code and these plugins, Bitter and Prettier, because they will help a lot to scaffold code and also to make it pretty. And the Vue CLI, it's also not necessary. We won't be using it, but the project I'm going to be sharing with you what's done with Vue CLI. So just if you want to recreate that, that's a very useful tool. Cool. Also, well, before we start, if I'm going too fast or something, please tell in the chat too. So let's start cloning. I'm sorry, cloning the repo. I was gonna copy this URL I'm pasting on the chat so that you can clone this. So basically, if you go to a folder in your terminal and run this command, you should be able to clone the project, right? I have already cloned it, so I can show you real quick how it should look. And it's basically a project with all of these folders and files. So I'll wait a little bit for you to download that. Well, after doing that, we are going to be needing to run npm install or npm CI. I'll start doing that, although I already have it installed. Npm I'm sorry. So yeah, it should install all of the dependencies. And when you're done with that, we're going to be running the server with npm run serve. So I'm just going to wait a little bit for this to happen. You can also start asking questions if you are already done, if you have everything running. Okay, so I'm going to run npm run serve just so that you can see what the sites should look like. Okay, so if you have everything running, basically your site should look like this. And I'll put the instructions here so that you can keep seeing them. All right, remember to put yes in the Zoom controls you have probably on your right side. We just have 7 people, we need more. Okay, yeah, there are some people that probably will have problems with their setup, so Yeah, as I mentioned, we will be uploading this to YouTube. So yeah, you can follow up on this, and probably if you have time later and you fixed your setup, you can also rerun it with your PC. But also, Charlie and Jonathan can help you to troubleshoot whatever is happening. Remember to use QQ between brackets. So first, I'm going to show you the project real quick. That's why I also opened this package JSON. As I mentioned, this is a Vue CLI project. You can run Vue create and the name of your app, and it will ask you a bunch of questions of what you want for the project, right? For starters, well, it install Vue, of course. Also, I asked to install the Vue router, VueJS, which we're gonna be learning. And for this site, I use Tailwind, which is a CSS library that basically I use to quickly do the site. But this is not gonna be the focus of the course, just so that you know what I'm using here. Another important thing I installed was Axios for fetching data. We're gonna be using that in the third or fourth chapter of this workshop. And finally, the Vue test utils and Jest are also installed so that we can test the components with Jest. I'm gonna do a really quick overview of the project and the folders. Basically, you'll find out, well, this is for the distribution files when we build it. Node modules are what basically npm install installs. In public, we have some assets like images for our products and our clients, and also the favicon and the main HTML where the Vue app will mount, right? If you already used Vue in the past, you know that the HTML is just a div and Vue mounts in that div, right? Okay, so after that, we have the source where most of the code we're going to be using is going to be, and we will be working the most. And test is where we are going to make our test at the end, right? In source, we have our main.js, which is basically just a simple Vue app. We're importing Vue, we're importing our component app.vue, and we're creating a Vue instance and mounting it in the div that I mentioned before. All right. The app.vue just has these three components: page navigation, home view, and page footer. We can see them in the page. That's why I told you Vue dev tools are going to be really useful. If we open them in this tab, you're going to see we have the root of the app, then the app.vue, then the three components I just mentioned. The footer is way on the bottom. That's why it wasn't showing, but there it is. Okay. Well, apart from those two files, we have other folders. In this assets folder, I have the CSS. I'm using also the image of the printer I have here. By the way, it's a 1D printer. It just prints lines. And for components, I have already set up some components that we will be working on. We just have one filter that will help us. Well, probably we won't use this, but you'll see that at the end how it looks. But basically just turns a number into a $sign number with, well, like a money number. In pages, we have all the pages we're going to be working with. The home page is this one. We have the hero where the printer is showing, and the testimonials of the clients, which is here below, but doesn't have anything. We're going to work on that too. We have also a 404 page, thank you page, etc. And well, router and store are two files that are basically just a little bit of code that that is basically empty, and we're going to be adding to because well, that's the purpose of this course, to know how to use the router, the store, and well, the rest of the things I mentioned. So hopefully that was enough time for you to catch up and have the project running. And well, we will start with the Vue router. Let me just put some things here. Okay. So, well, for the router, we just saw that the page has this navigation bar, and right now it doesn't do anything, right? If you click it, nothing happens. And we want to click it, that the URL changes and also the content changes, right? So let's do that. First, what we need to do is on our main.js, we need to connect the router, right? I mentioned we have this router file. So what we're gonna do is import it. And after importing it, sorry, this should be the, yeah. We just use it, well, set it up inside this Vue instance, right? So I'm gonna wait a little bit for you to catch up, but this is pretty simple, right? This is just for you warming up your fingers. Import the router, and then just put the router inside the Vue instance. And well, let's check the index file of the router folder. You'll see that we have set up some scaffolding code. When you do the app with the Vue CLI, this is done. Well, all of this except this. This is something I added because these are the routes that the client asked us to do. So this is the only thing different. And also the routes are empty. I put them empty on purpose because the Vue CLI already adds some of them, but I want you to do them from scratch. So now let's check if we have everything connected correctly. If we imported that correctly, we should be able to click on anything here, and you'll see that we have the route property in the data. It is showing us the path, the query, and the params, which are empty, and the meta. So yeah, everything is empty because we are in the home page. That's cool. So we know that's working. But that's not really useful, right? So let's start by doing well, two routes. One for the homepage, which we already are in, and another one for the checkout page, which is the second one. So to make a route, we just need to put an object inside this array, and then put the path, which is the URL path. In this case, we're going to use the object we have on top, and put page.home. The second thing that it needs is a name for the route. In this case, well, I'm just gonna call it home2. And, oh, sorry, this should be pages. And after that, the third parameter, well, third option you can add to this object is the component. And well, this is needed because that's the component we want to render in this page, right? So I'm gonna write home here, but we don't have the home component imported, right? We're gonna do that here. Remember that we had these pages folder. Here you'll see we have a home.vue. So we can basically just import home from pages home.vue, right? So that's the first route. But well, that's not really useful because that's the same we have, just a home page. So I'm gonna just copy this, paste it, and do the same for the checkout page. I'm gonna wait at the end of this because I'm probably going a little bit fast, but you can tell me in the chat if I'm going too slow or too fast. So I'll do the same, checkout. And from this, I also copy paste it, just change the checkout component. Right. So Yeah, before I change file, I want you to, I want to know if you already got this. It's basically just two routes, path, name, component, and that's it, right? Cool. Uh, well, now I cannot test this yet because, well, our navigation doesn't work, right? So we need to link to these pages somehow. We can go to the components. Inside of that folder, we have the page navigation. And here we'll find out that we have three links, but well, we just have two routes, the home page and the checkout one. So let's link them to those routes. What the Vue router needs to link to those pages is not an anchor. Like, I know HTML works with A tags, but in this case, we need to use something called a router link, and works basically the same as an anchor, but instead of href, you put a to property. So in this case, if we want to go to the home page, we put here the path of that home page, right? The same for checkout. We do router link to checkout. Cool. So I'm just gonna wait a little bit just to see, just for you to catch up. Sure. Yeah, I can show you the main JS again, just in case you didn't put the router in there. I'm just importing it and putting it inside the Vue instance. Okay, so we already installed the Vue router. We added some routes and we added the router links, right? So let's see if that works. Here we have the navigation. So we click home, well, nothing happens. We click checkout. It seems that nothing happened, but look at here at top. We have this checkout URL, well, path added. So it means that it is working. At least it's changing the URL, right? But we're missing the content. The content should not be the same. We wanted the checkout page to be showing here, right? So let's get back now to our app.vue. And well, that is happening because we have this home view component hard coded. Like, there's no way the router know. We don't have a way to let the router know where should it inject the view, right? So for that, we will use the router view. And we can get rid of the home view because we don't need it anymore. So yeah, I just replaced the home view that was hard coded and now the router view. This will basically tell the router, hey, here you can inject the component that was initialized in the router file, right? So now let's get back to the page, test it, and we can see it changing. And also, if we look at the tree, we can see here we have the home page, but there's something added at the right that is telling us that this is the router view. So when we change the route, it changed for the checkout component, and it's telling you this is the router view when it is /checkout, when the path is /checkout. And also, if you look at the route, it changes, right? We have a path that says /checkout. We have the name of the route, the full path, all of that changed, right? This is before going to checkout. In the homepage, everything is just /. All right, cool. So let's see if everyone's on board on this. I'm just gonna put this screen a little bit so that you can catch up and put the router view if you didn't. I'm not reading anything in the chat telling me like I should go faster, so I'll assume that I'm in a good pace. Okay, so Well, now if you already have this running, let's go to an exercise. If we go back to the router the router index, you'll see that we have other pages, right? So let's try to do the products one. I'm gonna give you probably 5 minutes for you to add the products route. And also remember that you need to go to the page navigation and change this link. And well, also the route should have the component. And remember, our page components are in this page folder, and we have a products one. All right, so probably 4:39, I'll start asking if everyone's done. Meanwhile, I'll start. I mean, for the people that are not following them themselves, I'll start doing it so that if you don't want to do it by yourself, you can just follow me. And okay, probably. Oh, okay. I'm not sure if this question is going to be answered by Charlie or Jonathan. So I'm just gonna leave them do that. Meanwhile, I'll be adding the next route. So just gonna do it quietly for the people that are doing it. Okay, so I'm seeing that. Yeah, I'll be answering that. Is it a good practice to split script style and template sections in multiple files and just import all together? Well, in my own opinion, it's better to have them like in one place, right? The only case I will think of doing that, like splitting them, is just if the component is super big. But in that case, I will say that just extract like certain functionality or make more components so that that big component becomes smaller, right? Not sure if that answer your question. Okay, cool. Yeah, because that's the main advantage of Vue files, the single file component, sorry, that you have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and everything is bound together, right? Like you can check the functionality for all that. Remember to use the QQ in brackets. I'm just gonna read that question, but it's easier for the mentors to read them. So do you use the feature for listing your Vue.js code? What do you mean by listing? Linting. Oh, okay. No, that's also in the setup of the project. We have ESLint. We have some rules here. And yeah, it also extends from a Vue Essential plugin that already has some Vue rules. Like you're going to see them later, but basically some rules like your component should not have this and that, or and the rest of the rules are extension of Airbnb, which basically is like the trailing commas and semicolons. And well, also I added some for not using console and stuff like that. But yeah, this is also done by the Vue CLI. That's a cool thing. And I believe also for prettier, yeah, I have some things here set up. just because I want prettier to put the single quotes, trailing commas, and parentheses in the arrow functions. All right, so it's time. How many of you were able to do the exercise? Basically, what we needed to do was just add this path. As you can see, we're using the pages.products we have here on top. And the component products was imported like this. And in our page navigation, we just needed to add the router link to products. And you should be seeing a page like this, right? Cool. So what's next? What if we want to do a 404 page, right? We have this error page, but for example, if we just copy this, do for error page, we put here error, and we also import the error page by doing something like this. Sorry if I went up a little bit too fast, but I'm sure you're already used to make paths and routes. So, oh wait, the page is not error. The page is called 404 here. And probably I'm gonna call it page 404. So the thing about this is that I just made a route for /404. And if I go to that page like this, I will get the 404. But if I write something else, I don't get anything. Basically, the router will say like, hey, this is the path, but I don't have any component to render, right? So it will just render the page navigation and the footer, and the router view is just empty. So for that, we just need to use something like this, which is a wildcard. And well, we put this at the bottom because if you put it on the top, basically we'll do that everything goes to the 404 page. What it does is that it will go route by route, and if it doesn't match any of these, well, it will fall into this route, and we will have the 404 page, right? I put the code here just so that you see that it's just the path with an asterisk, so that's it. And well, that's for error pages. Now, I want to show you a super pro tip in optimization. So let's build this project. You can use your terminal or the one in VS Code to build the project. And what I want to show you is how this looks when it's built, right? Because we have like a bunch of files here. We have component files, we have router file, and the main.js and all of that. But when you build it, Vue will basically convert all of that into JS and CSS files, right? So after this is done, you will see that everything is just one JS file. Okay, here we have. Well, not one JS file, is two JS files with their mappings. But basically, this is the dependencies, and the app. The app one is the whole app, like our components and everything else, right? So the interesting thing here is that if we see this in our browser, for some reason my PC is a bit slow, but I wanted to show you what's the size of this file. Oh, well, anyways, it shows here. So you can see we have a 12.6 kilobytes file, right, in our app. But the thing is that we have a bunch of routes, right? Like we have 4 routes, and probably the users are just gonna be seeing the home page at the beginning, and they're loading everything, right? So there's a trick for that. I'm gonna paste this code because this is a little bit long. I'm gonna put it in the chat, don't worry. But basically, if you just put this instead of the regular thing we did, it will tell Webpack to split this into another file so that you can load it separately. And basically, when the user first loads the page, it will load the home one, and well, the app one, and then the other ones will be in different files for the page to load separately and not load like everything at the same time. And well, this part here puts it seems like a comment, but in reality, it's telling Webpack to. Oh, sorry, I got an error. Oh yeah, since I'm dynamically importing checkout, we don't need this import. We are dynamically importing it here, so that's why it failed. But yeah, I was mentioning this part seems like a comment, but actually tells Webpack to name the file as checkout so that we can identify them easier. But you can also just remove this and Webpack will call it like a hash name or something. Okay, I'm gonna read questions while if there's, no, I'm seeing that Charlie and Jonathan are taking care of that, so that's cool. Okay, so now we go to the dist. We have, you'll see that we have this checkout JS, and you can see that the app was reduced by some kilobytes, and well, some of them were added to the checkout one. It seems that it duplicated in size, but probably it's because there's some base code that you need to have, but it's still pretty small, right? Like if you had more components, this will be larger, and that's when this pays off, right? When you can start taking out things from the main file. All right. So now that we're basically done with routing, we probably are going to be doing more routes. But just for recap and before going to the next part, remember that routes need a path, a name, and a component. You can use the router view to load the corresponding component into the page. And when you import them like this, you'll be benefiting from code splitting. Also, you can use the router link to go to the pages, well, for navigation instead of the anchor tags, and use the wildcard to catch all of the routes and make them 404. All right, next topic, fetching data. Probably you saw at the bottom of the homepage that we have this. If we go to the Vue DevTools and see that this component, this whole component is the client's testimonials. We have a loading animation here, and we have a testimonial also. So we don't have any data, right? And we need to show some data here. So let's go to this component, the client's testimonial, so that I can show you how it is looking right now. Here it is. I'm gonna close the rest of the tabs, and well, luckily we have here an endpoint that will give us some JSON data. We can see it here, and you can see we have an array with 7 clients and their pictures and also a description, right? So we are going to be showing those inside this inside this component, the single testimonial. All right, so the first thing to do is to, when should we fetch the data, right? And I'm gonna throw these questions to the chat. When do you think we should fetch the data of this component? No one? Oh, okay, well, meanwhile, I just saw that there's a question. Can you show the component error in index for router? Yeah, I can do that. Sorry, router. Yeah, my PC is dying. So the component is the page 404. This one is not error because I don't know why didn't I call it like that, but it's 404 for some reason. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing answers right now. So yeah, some people are saying when the component is created, some people are saying when it is mounted. So yeah, probably both are not wrong, but I do prefer to do it after it is mounted. When it is created, sometimes you don't have access to parts of the browser, so it's a better practice in general to just do it in the mounted hook. So let me show you how does that look. Sorry, for some reason. What? Yeah, I was trying to type something in the chat, but for some reason it's getting me back to the editor. Anyways, mounted. Yeah, this is the mounted hook. This executes whenever the component is already mounted. And the cool thing about this is that, well, we can use Axios here. And if you're used to async and await, we can use that syntax here. Basically say like async and then await Axios. Oh, first we need to import Axios. And then tell it to get the URL we have here. And we will set that up into a response variable, right? So now we have that response. Where should we set that up? Probably need some internal data to do that, right? So we can put a data here that returns our clients, and the clients by default will be just an array, empty. Like in case this fails, it will still be an empty array. And oh, a good question. By default, mounted is already asynchronous. No, if you don't put this, it's not asynchronous. And actually, when I do this mounted, I'm not telling it to mount after this response is done. Actually, the component will mount and it will render, and after that, it will run this method, right? And we're going to see that because we want the loader to show first and then the response. So now that we have the response, we can just tell that our clients is equal to the response dot data. And well, let's see if that worked. Well, before going to the browser, I'm gonna let you write that down. And if that worked, we can click this client testimonial, and we'll see that we have our clients array full with the 7 people from the JSON, right? That's cool. So, well, another good practice is what if this fails, right? We probably we ping this URL, the user doesn't have internet or something, and it will fail. So we can basically do a catch and take the error. And a good practice is always log the error so that you can check on your server what was the error. So I'm just gonna do that. And also to know that this is well, that this still returning something to the response, right? So we will just return an object with data that is empty, so that this doesn't break anything. If we set response to null, we might have problems, right? So we better have the response with the data as empty so that clients are still empty and we don't get any errors. After that, well, we are fetching this, but we're not showing anything yet, right? So let's fill that data inside our client testimonial. As you can see, we have name, picture, description, which is the same thing as in our client's method. So we just use a v-for here. Sorry. So before client in clients as a key, it's a good practice to use the ID of the client or whatever you're using that has that is unique. It's not a good practice to use index, but some people do it. But if you have an index that's, a unique ID, that's even better. And for name, well, we will need to put the client.name, picture the same, and description will be the same. Oh yeah, the URL is in the code. You can look for it inside your file. Okay, so I'm just doing a before here, and everything inside this client, well, it's taken from all the clients, each one, and the properties are set up into this single testimonial file. And if that works, we should see all of our client testimonials here. There they are. There are 7, so they're showing. That's cool. But we still have our loader in the top right. It's not going away. So what can we do? As I mentioned, the mounted method will run after the component is mounted. So this will render even before fetching data. So we want to make the loading animation disappear after it has been loading, right? So we will create a new loading data here that is by default true. And in our mounted method, after we set the response data, we will say this dot loading false. I'm sorry, equals false. Right, so we're telling it that our loading, well, we finished loading and it should stop showing the loader. So here we just need to do a if to stop rendering it. To render it only when it is loading, right? So if it is not loading, it will disappear. Cool, so hopefully you got to this part. And now if you go to your site and refresh it, you'll briefly see the loader and then the testimonials, right? So that's working. And the final thing, I'm gonna provoke an error here. I'm gonna just put like a fake URL to see what happens, right? So doesn't seem bad, right? Like, yeah, we see the loader, then it disappears. But the thing is that our component says client testimonials. We don't have any. So probably if we have an error, we don't want to show anything, right? So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna create another data property that is called error, set it to false. And before returning here in the catch, I'm gonna say error equals true. Sorry, this dot error equals true. And similar to the way we did it with the loading, we're gonna hide all of this with a if error. And I'm gonna get back to this part so that you can see it. All right, so, oh, sorry, it should be the opposite. If we don't have errors, we show the component. So if not error, right? So that's it. It is loading, it gets error, so it just removes the component. Probably you can do something else like faking some testimonials or something, but yeah, just wanted to show you this, like this is a good practice to handle errors when fetching data, right? All right, so now let me remove the error from the URL so that we get back to getting our testimonials. For some reason, we're getting like a bunch of testimonials, and we just want to print the first 4, right? So what will you do? Like the API gives us 7, but we just want the first 4. Any suggestions? Splice array. Okay, so yeah, that's an option. You can splice it here before setting into the client's data. But well, that's actually a good option if you want. What I like to do is something different. Like, well, actually, first I'm gonna show you like the bad practice, right? Some people like to do this. After the before, they just say be if, and well, they also don't follow me on this, by the way. They just put an index here. So if the index is less than 4, they will render that, right? But actually, some of the linting rules we have will prevent us from doing this. If we try to go here, it says, hey, you should not use before with any beef, right? That's like a bad practice. Why? Because you're forcing, whenever this gets rendered, you're forcing it to check for this evaluation, and it's pretty simple, right? You're just checking if it is less than 4. But I've seen some people even put methods here, so it can get really complicated and also if you have a lot of components, it will make the site slow, right? So if you don't want to do this, and well, the splice option is a good one, but I'm gonna put a third option, which is have a computed property. And well, if you don't know about computed properties, basically they're just like variables that depend on your data, right? So for example, we can call this first for clients, and we will return clients, but filtered by the same evaluation we did in the before, right? So we have a client and an ID, and we just want the IDs that are less than 4. I'm sorry, this is not ID, this is index. So why is this better than the beef we did before? Basically because whenever we set this clients array, this will automatically evaluate and render the component on top, right? When we were doing the beef, we'll try to do this evaluation for each time it renders. This way, it will just render again if clients change. Good question. Computed will be called first or mounted? Actually, computed is called first. So, for example, computed is called whenever something in the data changes. So at the beginning, clients is empty, so it will be called, but since it is empty, the filter will also return empty. Then the mounted will execute, will change the clients, and this will execute again, right? So this is basically like another data. You can treat it like that, like just another property in your data that will change as you change the other properties. So now if we did that correctly, it seems that is not working, but let's check. If we go to the Vue Dev Tools and check the client testimonials, we can see that we have our 7 clients, and this is the cool thing about using computed. Basically, you can check that we have the 4 clients, so this is working fine. What is not working fine is that we're not using this in the template, right? So we need to go to the v4, and instead of clients, we're going to be using the first 4 clients. And that will render just those clients. Okay, so hopefully you got this right, because now you're gonna do it by yourself. We have the same thing in our products page. If you go to products, you can see we have basically the same thing. We have a URL here. We have a product widget that is hard-coded with one value. And when you load this, you will get an array of products that we need to render with this in this product widget. And also you have a loading animation. So it's basically the same. You can go to here to products, and this is the page. So we need to render a bunch of these products. I'm gonna give you probably 10 minutes also for people that are probably would like to take a break, get some water, but well, at 5:15, I'm gonna check if you are done with this part of exercise and continue. Also, I'll be answering questions. So if you're not following the exercise, feel free to start asking questions. For people that want an extra challenge, you'll notice that there's a property here called right side picture. That basically, if you put it to true, the picture will be on the right. If it is false, it will be on the left. So if you finish with that, try doing that. Every product shows in a different side, like the first one on the left, the second one on the right, the third one on the left, and so on. Okay, I'm seeing some answers to do the right side thing. And yeah, that getting the module of the product ID, well, probably I wouldn't take the product ID in this case. Is the product IDs are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but probably the when you are working with a real database, the IDs won't be that way, right? You can have like 1, 5, 7 or something like that. If if you meant the index, that's another option, but that will be similar to having well, no, that's actually fine. And I'm just gonna show you another way we can do it also with computer properties. But we're gonna give other 3 minutes for people to finish. Or you can put yes if you are already done to see how many of you want to continue. I mean, in the chat is okay, but it's better in the buttons you have so that I can count them. By the way, if you handle the error, that's fine. I just didn't do it because I'm lazy, and well, I already did it in the last part, but well, you can copy paste the way we catch the error. So just to show you another way to do that right side thing, for the people that are already solved it with the index modulo 2, you can also call a method here that it's called probably something like is auth, because we want the auths on one side, and we send the index. And we can have this method here. This is just another way of doing it. If you already did it with the way it shows in the chat, that's fine. So yeah, that's another way, right? Like calling a method, and that's the same as put it inline. But I have another way to do this, and well, we're on time, so if you solved it, that's cool. If not, we're gonna continue. Instead of calling a method inside a v-for, we can also do a computed property. And why is this good? Well, because the same reason of the client's testimonials example. Basically, we're evaluating here for every product this method. So whenever something changes, everything will reevaluate. And this is not that bad. Like calling a method is not that bad. The downside of this is that if you go to this product component, you'll see here the products, but you don't know why they're rendering one side on the other until you click one of them, and you see like, oh, okay, this has the right side picture set to 1, and this one to 0, right? So a better way is to do a computed property, and I show you how. We also do a computed here. And we're gonna call these products with alignment. And we're gonna return these products dot map. We're gonna iterate over each product and also get the index. And for each product, we're gonna return, this is ES5, the structuring. We're gonna return the same product, but with an extra property that is called alignment. Sorry. And well, this can be the method we created on the bottom. Okay, so, oh, okay. I'm just gonna put it in a method. I mean, in a constant here, just because it's easier to read. And actually, I want to change the isOuth to put true or false. So I'm just gonna check if this is 0. And yeah, this seems a little convoluted if you're not used to functional programming, but you can do this also with a regular for. But what we are doing is that we check for each product and their indexes what will be the alignment, and we create a computed property, basically, well, a new product with this new alignment property. So that will be set here. And we can use this instead of the regular products. And here we can just say product dot alignment. And we can get rid of the index here. So the advantage of this is just that we don't have any logic in our template, right? But also, well, if you use the method in the template, that's also like not having a lot of logic because you're just calling a method. But the real advantage is that if you go to your page, and for some reason it is not showing, okay, you can see the products page, and you can see that you have your regular products, and then you have the products with alignment. And you can see here that they have their alignment set to true or false, depending if they're odd or not. Oh, so a question. Do we always have to define a function in methods if we want to use it in computed? No, actually, that's a really good question. We can basically, if the method is not using anything from the state or the properties of the object, you can extract it like constant is odd equals this function, right? And you can make it probably an arrow function. And remove it from methods. And instead of using this dot is odd, you just use the function you declare here. Oh, and yeah, this can be, well, the linter is telling me that I can just return this. And yeah, I need to define it on top. But just wanted to keep it on the bottom so that you could see that I just extracted the same function. But yeah, you can do this if your method doesn't need to know anything about the component, you can definitely do this. Yeah, like you mentioned. Yeah, we just use it if we want to access the state or props. Cool. So now that we are done with our products, what about, well, going to the actual product, right? We are not, for some reason it got us to the home page. And if we remember the router thing, probably that's because we don't have a router link. So let's get back to our project, and we can go to the product widget, which is the one we're using there. And let's check for the show details button, which is this one. And we have an anchor. So we need just to change that to router 2, and then go to product ID, right? The cool thing is that we have already this product ID thing. But let's see if you're still awake. What will we need to make this work? Okay, you're not awake. Don't worry. Well, to make it work, because if we right now just click it, well, for some reason it's not working. Oh, sorry, it's router link. I don't know why I just put router there. Okay, so we have a 404. So that's because we don't have the route. This is another, like, I could get back. I mean, this, I could explain this in the router section, but we didn't have a way to do it. So now we have a good example. When we have products here, there can be like many products, and it's not just one route, right? And I don't think it should. You should be like declaring one route per product, like product number 1, product number 2, and so on. So the way you do that here in the router is that you take this single product here that we have here, and we're going to do some string interpolation just to concatenate some text. Basically, we're going to say, like, okay, when single product has slash and then something, that something will be our ID, right? And we're going to call this product, and we need to put here the single product. Okay. Oh, that's it. Sorry. And well, getting back to this so that you can see it. How does this work? Basically, when we put this semicolon, we're telling the Vue router that this could have like anything, and that anything should be set into this ID. This could be any name you want. I put ID because it's the thing that made more sense, but you can probably use product or something like that. But yeah, ID makes more sense because that's the thing we're using here. And if we go to our Vue Dev Tools, check the route, you'll see that we have the full path product 1. It used the product route, and when we collapse these params, here we have the ID, right? So that's cool because we want to use that. But well, before going, before using that param, we need to do something else. Here we have the the product, and you can see we have just a printer. But actually, this could be like any other of the other products, right? Like if we get back to the products page, we click here in a toner, we should see that toner, right? Right now, we don't have an endpoint to get a single product, so we should use the same the same data we already have. So I will tell you, okay, let's inside this single product page, probably we can fetch the data of all the products and just look for the one that we have in their URL and set it here, right? But the thing is that we don't want to do that because we already are fetching the data before, and we want just to reuse this data, right? So to do that, we need to go to the next step, which is using Vuex. But well, before getting to Vuex, I'm just gonna give you a quick recap of what we did. We use async await for promises to set our loading state. We also used try catch, catch in the promise for fetching data and set errors. Also, we don't use beifs inside before because that's a bad practice. And instead, we use the computed props to make to change the presentation of the data and the props. And a path with semicolon and the variable name will put the variable inside this route params object. Okay, so if all of this is clear now, we can go to the next part, which is Vuex. Anyone in the chat knows what Vuex is? Or how many of you have you used Vuex? You can click no or yes in the buttons of the Zoom. Okay, state management for Vue. Yeah, manages the state of the app. Well, the state of the app, not necessarily because, well, every component has a state. And actually the main state is in our main.js file. So we're not setting a state here, but we could, right? And every component is like another part of the main state. So Vuex is not the state of the app. It is more like a tool to handle the state management between components. And yeah, well, the main usage we're going to be doing is, for example, here we have this page. We go to the single page. There's some data that should be passed, but it's difficult because these two components don't know each other. And also, you can see we have a checkout button here with a number. And if we add the cart to the cart, the product, this should change, right? And also these two components don't know each other. That's when we use Vue, when we want to communicate components that are really far away. If they were just like a parent and a child or something like that, that would be easier. But in this case, they're separate components. And well, let me get back to the presentation just to show you something really quick. We've been using Vue components right now, and they have their own data, properties, and well, computed and methods. So imagine that Vuex is like a big Vue component. Well, not Vue component, but a big state or global state that we have for all of the components, where they will communicate in this way. They will dispatch an action. Then this action will be able to get any data from that component and also from any API or wherever you want to connect with. After that, the data will be committed to change the state with a mutation. And we, in the DevTools, we can see those mutations. We're gonna see later how that works. And that mutation will change the state. The state will basically be updated and tell all of the Vue components that have a reference to that part of the state to render again with that new value. So if you've used Vue, this seems like basically like data, right? Like when you change data, it will render the component. So this is similar. This is like a shared data outside of your component, but that you can reference in your component. And well, Oh, that's a good joke. You can give your cell phone to communicate your children with your grandparents. Yeah, this will be the cell phone basically. Um, cool. So how do we start adding Vuex? Well, we will start similar to the router. We have this index file, which is basically a Vuex empty store. And here in our main.js, we're gonna import it just like this. And the same as the Vue router, just put the store in there. And this is the cool thing about the Vue ecosystem. Since all of the tools are custom made for Vue, they're super simple to install and set up, right? Probably if you've used React or jQuery or other things that have like a lot of third-party tools, they're sometimes more difficult to set up than this. So now that we have that, well, first let's see if that works. I'm gonna get back to this so that you can see import store, put the store in here, and in my, well, we don't have anything in the state, so we want to have the products, right? So if we get back to the store index, I'm just gonna do like if this was data, so I'm gonna set up my products as an empty array. Sorry, products with S. And if this works, then we should be able to see, well, it will refresh because it says like, hey, there's new state or something, so I'll need to refresh. And if everything is set up, you can click here in the load state button and you will see that we have products and they're empty because we set it up like that. So that means your Vuex is working. I'm gonna wait a little bit until you get here. Like if someone has a problem, please put it in the chat. But if you're here, then click yes so that I can continue. All good? Okay, cool. Yeah, seems like the majority has it working. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Hopefully that's good that you didn't get lost. So yeah, we have our products here. Similar to what we did in our component, we need to whenever we go to this page, we need to fetch the products. Also in the single product page, we need to do it here. So we will do like a mounted and fetch the data, then update the data and render it, right? In this case, I'm just gonna take the products page because that's already done, and take this basically this part of the of fetching data and put it inside an action. So we're gonna call the action fetch products. Also, this needs to be an async function because it's gonna fetch that data. And well, the difference here is that we saw in the diagram, we should not be setting the products directly, right? So I'm gonna comment this. Oh, and I need to import Axios. And well, we have the response, but what we want to do to set up the products is to commit my changes into a mutation. So how do we do that? We receive here a context object that will help us to commit the changes. And well, probably we can call this, we need an identifier. So this is gonna be set products. And we're gonna send the response.data. The important thing here is that your mutation should have the same name that we put here. So I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna call my mutation set products. And we saw in the diagram that the mutations will set the state, right? They are the ones that change the state. So that's why they also receive the state. That's a cool thing. And they will receive the products we sent in the commit function as a second parameter. So here we can say state.products equals products. And we can now get rid of this. Pretty simple, right? Basically, we just the two lines that we put here, we just have to expand it a little bit. And you might say, why not just sending a commit from my component? That's because you might need to do more things in your actions. It's a good practice to just separate actions from mutations and not let your components just mutate freely the state. So now if we have this, we just need to connect it to the component. And how do we do that? Well, since we already are doing this in the action, we just remove this. Also, we can remove Axios. And we need to somehow get that action, right? So for that, we will import an utility from Axios that is called, from Vuex, that is called map actions. And what this does is that it will help us to make an action a method in the component. So we can create, again, our methods here. And the way we use the map actions is by using 3 dots to the structure, the map actions, and inside an object, well, inside parentheses, and then an object, we call the method the way we're going to call the action inside our component. Oh, sorry, it was fetch products. And the way it was called in Vuex, which is also fetch products. You can name them differently in case you probably, if you already had like a method that is called this way, you can change the name. So that names on the store don't collide with your own method names, right? And here in the mounted, we had the await. And the difference is that we are not going to do the access call. We're just going to fetch products. And you can see I'm not assigning anything to this, right? Because, well, if we get to our actions, there we're not returning anything here. We're just changing the state. And that's a good practice. We should not return anything. We just should mutate the state so that the component can grab that part of the state. And actually, those products are not going to be longer internal state. They're going to be global state. So we can get rid of this. And in our computed, we're going to use another utility. If we have map actions to get the actions, well, we also have map state to get the state. So we're going to import that. And inside our computed properties, we can use it similarly. And well, the name of the property of the state is products. Well, we want to call it products, but also it's called products in the state, right? But this, similar to actions, we can call it whatever we want. And if all of these worked, I'm going to wait a little bit more for you to get this. But if all of that worked, we should not see any change, right? We just moved the fetch functionality to the store and also the state to the store. And we don't have it, no longer have it in data. Oh, and the cool thing is that since this is called the same products in our template, we didn't need to change anything. And also here in our computed property, we can just call it the same. So let's get back to our products page. There we have it. And we can see we have our products here. And if we inspect the component, we can see that we no longer have data with the products, but we have these Vuex bindings. It's telling us that products come from Vuex, and it's basically the same data, right? Cool. So now it's exercise time again. We just did this for the products page, but now you're gonna do it for the single product page. Basically, add the actions and state to fill this product. For now, you can do it with the first product that is in the store because this is just a single product. We don't need a before here. And after that, or I mean, if you have time, we can, as an extra challenge, you can set the product from the ID of the router. But if you just get the first product with map state and map actions, that should be fine. And we're going to see how to do the rest. So you have 10 more minutes for this. At 5:51, I'll check back to see if you could set the single product page with the state. Okay, and I'm just gonna start doing the same with this for a single product, just in silence, in case you're following along. Oh, see, yeah, right. Also, if you're way behind, don't worry. We are gonna be up before the next chapter. You can just check out to a branch and follow us along. So you can see if you type git branch, you can see we have all of these branches. I totally forgot about this, but we started in router. You can, well, when we fetch data, we started here. When we were working with Vuex, it started here. And after finishing this Vuex part, we're going to move to the form validation part. All right. So how are you doing? We have 3 more minutes. Well, 4. Is anyone done? Remember, just render the first component. If you have time, just also take the, well, try to take the one from the router. Yes, I can show index.js in the store. All right. So, oh, nice. Victor already kind of got how to get that. Well, that works using this product and then just the ID of the params, because the ID is the same as the index of the array, right? But if we were using strings or something as an ID, that wouldn't work. But yeah, that's a way to do it in this case. And actually, I'm just going to show you real quick what I've done to see if you did something similar. We'll basically just imported the map actions and the map state. Also, oh, sorry, it's in the single product. Yeah, well, the same. Imported the map actions, map state. For data, I just made another loading data to set it to false after it finishes the promise of fetching products, and also mapped the actions to use the fetch products here, map the state to use the products, and my product is just the first one. So I got it like this, and then in the template, I just put a beef loading. Oh, by the way, if you want, you can also link this to the products page like this. Set this to loading just to show the loading animation, and set the product data, right? Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So now a way to do the product, well, the single product by URL is first convert these products array into a dictionary. And I'm just gonna copy paste this because we're running a little bit short on time. But yeah, we can call these the products dictionary. Oh, sorry. And basically, we're just going to be transforming the products data like this. I'm going to paste it in the chat so that you can also use it. But basically, we're just iterating over each product and just setting it up with their ID as a key in the object, right? So now we can use what some of you mentioned here, which is this route. This is the way we get reference to the route object in the Vue instance, and the params, then ID, right? So we're going to see how this works. I clicked toner, which is the ID tree. And if we get to this single product component with the Vue Dev Tools, you can see that, okay, my products dictionary is here. So you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, just like this. And for some reason, it's getting me the fourth one. I'm going to check why. But anyways, it's taking route params ID, which is 3. And yeah, I'm not sure why it is giving me the fourth one instead of the third one. Probably that's because this is a string, or anyone knows why? Or let me just check if it was just some kind of error. Oh yeah, it was some kind of error. For some reason, it didn't refresh correctly, and it gave me the wrong product. But yeah. Oh wait. Oh. Okay, product one is giving me the black toner for some reason. This is why we need the DevTools, right, to see why this is happening. So the ID is 2, which is this one. ID 2 should be this one, but the route has the param ID 1. But you can see this is a string. This is not a number. So I believe that's the problem for some reason, right? Oh, wait, no, I just realized I'm not using the products dictionary. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, now we're getting the right one. There we go. Cool. So this is the Vuex part. We're gonna need to fast forward to a branch because we need to go to the form validation. There's a lot of things that you're gonna be seeing that we change in the store after this. But basically, if you want to follow along, well, first let's recap. When the state needs to be shared, we use Vuex. Basically, when we need to share them between views. Try to keep the store simple. Also, I didn't mention this, but as you saw, I didn't get the loading into the state because that will be like a global loading, and we don't want that. We just use the loading whenever a component uses it, right? And keep it local. Just the things that you need to share, put those in the store. Use map actions, map state. We didn't get to see map getters, but it's really similar. Getters are like computed properties, but for the store. And well, actions should not return anything. And actions can be promises and also can call other actions. Now, to jump to the form validation, if you want to keep your changes, probably you can git stash or something. But if not, you can just git reset hard, like I'm doing here. Let me just put this bigger. That will remove all of your changes, but anyways, we don't need it because we will go to the form validation one. Sorry, that GCO is Git checkout. I have some abbreviations, but Git checkout form validation, that's what you need to do, right? So if you're here, well, I'm gonna give you some seconds to change the branch. Okay, if Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. That's the command. So now we can see what happened here, because a lot of things are the same, but for products we can now add the cart. And in the store we have more actions, basically to create that link between the cart and the checkout button and this other cart. If you see, I'm gonna add 3 yellow toners. We had 10, so now we have 13, and here we have our yellow toners. You can check the code for this later, but well, now we're here. We want to check out, and well, the form is asking me. Luckily, it's not asking me right now for credit cards. We don't have time to do a full store, but we're gonna check at least that the user is putting their email on their phone so that we can call them and tell them how to pay us, right? So the thing right now is we click buy and it just refreshes the page and we're not getting any data, right? So let's check how that component looks like. And if we go to this checkout component, you'll see we already have these form inputs. These are custom components I made, which basically just have an input. And whenever you change something, they will emit this input event. And they receive a lot of parameters that will render even if they have an error, for example. So this is a pretty useful component whenever you're using forms, to have just one component for the whole thing, like validation, showing errors, and well, basically don't mess with that on your page, but in the component instead, right? So yeah, we need to fill this in with our own data. So let's do that first. We're gonna create a data object, well, data method with that returns. We need to start the email. At the beginning will be empty, and the phone, which will also be empty, right? And we check that here. Sorry, I need to refresh so that the Vue DevTools. Okay. We have them here. They're empty. That's cool, but we need for them to update when we change something, right? And have you used V model before? Like this V model? Oops, sorry, this should be email. So yeah, you can answer in the chat. Have you used this before? Okay, yeah, there's some people using it. That's cool. Well, you will probably notice that, well, probably you have used these V models with inputs directly, right? And we're using a custom component here. So why does this work? Basically because our component is emitting an input with the value, and also is receiving the value, and that value is rendered, where is it? Oh, I forgot. But well, this should be value equals value. Yeah, so we have two-way data binding. Whenever something changes this value, it will update it here. And also when this changes, this will emit an input. And this is basically the manual way to do a V model. So if you want any of your components to have some functionality similar to V model, you can do it like that. Just a quick tip. Yeah, if we check this here, we can start writing, we check our checkout page, and we can see that it is updating, right? All right, so now we need to validate this. The good thing is that I already put some validators here. You just need to remove the comments, but we already have an email validator. We can check it if you want. They're in the validators folder. It's a complex regex, basically based from Stack Overflow, and that I know it works, so don't worry trying to understand it. And it will just return a string telling you the error, or it will be empty if there are no errors, right? the same for the phone validator. If it is empty, it will say that it is required. If it has something that is not numbers, it will tell you this. And if it's more or less than 10 numbers, it will tell you this. If everything passes, then it will return just an empty string, right? So where would you think we should do the validation? This is like an open question. I'll wait for you to answer on the chat. Where do you think we should be validating this? Or where would you do it? On Blur? Okay. A watcher. I'm not a fan of watchers, but yeah, that's probably another option. Yeah, it's not a bad option actually. If you have used watchers, yeah, that's a good. On submit, that's another one. What about if we do it on submit? I mean, if we just do it in a watcher, whenever we type, we will get the errors, right? And if we do it on submit, that's cool because we see the errors when we submit and not when we are typing. But after submitting, it will still show the error, and we need to submit again to know if the error works. I mean, we got rid of the error. So we will do a combination of on submit and the watcher, but instead of a watcher, we're going to use computed properties. Probably you'll notice that I'm a fan of computed properties because they're super cool. And I will say that 90% of the times you'll be better using computed properties than a watcher. And you'll see the way this can get solved with the computed. Okay, so first, let's do computed property. Oops. Well, two properties in computed that will tell us if the phone has errors. Sorry, phone. This will start the phone error, and this other one will start the email error. And we're just gonna be returning the phone validator executing with the phone. And the same for the email. And this could be in a watcher, and yeah, probably you can just watch for the phone and check well, if it has errors or not, and probably set another data. But the cool thing is that if you do it this way, basically whenever you change the phone or other thing, you also change these phone errors. But if you need to know if the whole form is valid, you will also need to do that in either of these two, right? But with computed properties, we can just say form is valid, and the form will be valid if these phone errors is empty, and also the email error is empty, right? And this is why I prefer computed properties over the watcher, because you just need to basically check over these other computed properties, and you automatically get if the form is valid. And well, when we submit, I mean, sorry, now that we have this, we can bind these errors to the ones that we have on our inputs, right? So we have this error field. This is the phone, so we put the phone error here, and the email error here. And here's the problem, right? Like it is already validating. Well, that's cool, but we only want to validate until we submit, right? So I'm gonna do this a little bit quick because we are running out of time, and I want to give some space for the testing part. So Hopefully you catch up. If not, you can review the video. So for getting when the form is submitted, we just have to listen to a submit event and use this prevent. Prevent is useful whenever you want to avoid the refreshing of the page, and instead of inside the function doing an event.default.prevent default like we did on jQuery or other frameworks, we can just do it with this shorthand in Vue. So we're gonna call a submit method that we haven't created, but we're gonna create it here. Submit, and we want to validate things only when it has already been submitted, right? So we're gonna create a should validate flag. At the beginning it will be false, but here we will set it to true. And oh, I already have methods, right? Okay. And when this is true, then, I mean, when this is false, if we should not validate, so if we don't need to validate, we just return the empty, like if there were no errors. We do the same for the email. And well, here in, oh, I already have the submit order. Okay. Never mind, I'm not gonna use this one, but I'm gonna copy the comments from this. So like in the comments says, if the form is valid, we check it with this dot form is valid. Then we should send the order, right? And we're gonna see the console log only when it is valid. Let's see if that worked. So I'm writing, no errors, that's cool. Click buy, I get errors, and I didn't get the console log. So I'm gonna put a fake email here and fake number. I'm gonna click buy, and we get the order console log. All right, so well, that's for form validation. Any questions so far? Because you were pretty quiet the whole part. Well, for recap, you can make your own custom Vue model when needed to simplify things. Also use add submit.prevent to avoid refreshing the page. You can validate in real time with computed props. And also you can, oh, I didn't check this, but yeah, we can do that super quick. I'm gonna just send you to the homepage. So if we use router push, this dot router push and the homepage, whenever we submit the form, well, actually it should take us to the thanks form. Let me check if we have the route. Oh yeah, we have it. Cool. So I'm just gonna send it to the thanks page. And we can get back, we can fill this. And there we have the thank you page. So you can programmatically also navigate with the router, right? Cool. Well, now the last part, and not because it's the least important, but tests should be important always. Actually, it's a good practice also to create first test and then make them pass, but in this case, we're gonna do the opposite. So you can follow along if you also check out in the the branch for testing, which is called tests, git checkout tests. But I believe our checkout table is already there. Yeah, we have the checkout table. So let's see what we're gonna test. See, we have this table, and you just saw that we have the items, the quantity, and the price, right? And then we have a grand total where we show the total of all the items multiplied by their price, right? So we want to test that that total is correct. So we're gonna go to the test folders. We already have this checkout table.spec.js. This is the way that Jest identifies that this is a test. If it ends with .spec or .test.js, it will run the test. So, well, I'm going to show you real quick how, what's this file and what we have. So we have Vue test utils. We're importing the shallow mount function. This function helps us to mount the component without its childs. Like if we just want to test that component, you can use shallow mount and it will do the test super quick. We're importing the table that we want to test. And here we have some dummy data similar to the products we store in the cart so that we can test the component. So now this is Jest. When this function describe is Jest, with it we can specify like what are we doing here. So we're describing that we are testing the checkout table, and then we put an anonymous function to do the tests. We can nest these describes. This is not a Jest class, and I'm not a Jest expert, but if you can probably check out Jest documentation so that you can see how this works. On the it, we will put our tests. So I put already these two its because we want to check that the checkout table, it renders the grand total correctly, and also it emits the remove item from cart event when the delete button is clicked. So first, to check if the grand total is correct, we're gonna do a wrapper where we're gonna store our component when it is mounted. So we're gonna call shallow mount, then the component we want to mount, and then in an object we will put the properties, and this is called props data, I think. Not that this is gonna error, but well, we're gonna put the items in the cart by ID inside this props data. Basically, this props data is whatever is going to be sent to the component. If we check this item by item in cart by ID, and we look at the checkout table, which is the one we're testing. Let me close the rest. We have these items in cart by ID, right? So we're just sending that over with these items. Let's check our data. We have one item here with, well, 4 first items, and each one costs 100. And this second item, we have one, it costs 50. So if I did my math correctly, this should be $450, right? So the way we test that is that we expect something to be something, right? So for starters, I'm going to just put expect 2 to be true, just to see if everything is working correctly. And we can run this with npm run unit, test : unit. And you can see it's running the checkout table test, and it passed. Well, it passed, the two passed. The first one because I just expect true to be true, and the second one because I didn't expect anything, right? So let's start doing something. let's check first where our total is. So our total is in this table. And a good practice is to add an identifier like data test for getting this data from the test. I don't like using classes or IDs because if the class changes because of CSS changes, the test will break, right? So we use this data test run total, and we can look for it in the test like this. We just say wrapper.find, then put in square brackets, data run test total. Data test run total, sorry. So this will find that that HTML node. So we could call this total node. And basically we will expect that total node dot text to be 450. Well, it's text, so I'm gonna put it as a string. This is a method that every wrapper or every HTML node has inside Vue test toolkit, so you can call it like this. And now, we run the test again. You'll see that something failed. But the cool thing is that we're almost there. It is printing also the $sign and the 2 zeros. So we just need to add that to the test and it should be fine, right? Okay, so we do that. And by the way, you can run this with double dash, then double dash again and watch. And it will keep running. And whenever you do a change, it will tell you, it will run the test again. So you can see it passed. That's cool. I can remove a 0, save. You saw the test run again. And it should crash. Well, not crash, but show that it has an error. There you go. Cool. Well, let's do the same thing for buttons super quick because we're almost on time. So we just mount the checkout table, and now we are going to take the wrapper and we're going to look for the button. Remember the delete button? Luckily, I already added that data test delete button here. We can search for it with the find, and we can call this delete button. And we're gonna trigger a click. So you do that this way. And the thing that we're gonna expect here is not a change in the value because this just will, this will, oh, sorry, this is the delete button. This should just emit an event. So we expect the wrapper emitted. This is a function that will give you all of the emitted events. Sorry, it's double T, 1M. Then remove item from cart, which is the name of the event. And we're going to check the length because it should have be called one time, right? So if we do that, the test should pass. Oh, it imported something for some reason. And I'll get to the components. So you can see I'm listening for the click. I call this remove item from cart, and it will just emit this remove item from cart. And you can see it passed. It was called one time. If I try to say like, hey, did you call it 2 times? It will say no. There you go. So it says like, hey, I was expecting to, but no, it was just called once. So that's fine. Cool. All right. So super quick recap on Vue tests utils. Well, I didn't show you this, but you should decouple your components for easier testing. remember we had some components with the directly calling actions and state. I was doing the same for this checkout table, but the problem is that I will need to mock the state to make this work, which could be a little bit harder. So what I did is that I just did a checkout table provider that will get everything from the store using map actions and getters, and just call the same component with the data. So that way we can just easily test the component without having to mock all of the store. Also, shallow mount will not mount nested components. You can use it for faster tests. You can find nodes in your components with data test selectors like we did. And like I mentioned, about using classes and IDs because they can break your test if someone changes it for other reasons like styles or something. And tests are more valuable if you just check functionality. If you saw I didn't check like, oh, this should have like this CSS class, or this should be inside a div inside a paragraph that has this class, right? That's not really scalable when you test things. All right, so before passing to the Q&A section, I just want to show you this feedback survey. Let me just copy the link so that you can visit it. But it will make us super happy if you can give us any feedback for improving this course. And also in this survey, you'll find that you can also answer for other courses that you're interested in. So I'm just gonna leave that for some seconds, but we can start with Q&A. If you have any questions related or not to what we saw, but related to Vue, just shoot. Yeah, the video is gonna be shared. Actually, if you go to YouTube and look for Wiseline Academy, you'll find that we already have a bunch of videos on many courses. So yeah, this will be uploaded eventually, and I think that also they will send you a reminder in the email for you to check. Oh yeah, any book or to learn about Vue. Well, I actually put these resources where most of the good practices are, because this is the official documentation of everything we saw, like the router, the Vue test tutorials, Vuex, and also the cookbook is super good because they show you also real work cases and how they will solve it. So that's another good one. And Vue documentation is awesome. You'll see that you don't probably need a book if you just read their documentation. Okay, this question that is really hard to answer, like which is better, Vue, Angular, or React? I think it depends on your case. Everyone, any of those frameworks has their pros and cons. For example, well, React is the biggest one. It's backed by Facebook and basically has a pretty big community. So everything has already been done for React, right? And basically, if you have a problem doing something, most probably someone already solved it. So that's the advantage of React. But the disadvantage is that it's hard to learn, and they're changing things a lot. Like they just introduced hooks some months ago, and people are just getting to them, and they are learning to do the class. Well, unlearning to do the class components, or well, having difficult time doing components one way or another. Angular, it forces to have you TypeScript. I mean, to use TypeScript. So that's cool if you're doing an enterprise app. Actually, in my project, I use Vue with TypeScript, but I think Angular 3 or 2, I don't remember which version, forces it. So that's a pro of Angular if you want to see it that way, but also it's a con because if your team doesn't know TypeScript, that will be hard. And Vue has a smaller community than React, probably bigger than Angular. But the advantage is that is the most easy of the three to learn. In my case, in my team, I choose Vue because we were using, well, my team had a lot of experience using PHP, and the system we were doing was going to be a mix of PHP and well, front end with JavaScript. So Vue was easier for them to learn because they were already experts in PHP, but not in JavaScript. And then if I had chose React, for example. So that's why I mentioned it depends on your personal case, on your team. Oh, okay. Well, I think I just skipped the question. How do you handle errors on the store actions? That's a really good question. Probably I will say that since you don't return anything, you just reject the promise. Remember, it's a good practice to make it a promise. Then you just reject the promise with an error, and that component that is using the action can handle the error. If you need to change to share the error, I will say probably handle the error like if you were waiting for products to be filled in the array and the array is empty and the promise already uh, finished, then you will put an error like, oh, no products found, right? Because the promise finished, but the mutation, there was no mutation. It didn't change the object, the array, right? So you can put an error on every component depending on what change of state you were waiting. What I would suggest is to add an error state in your store. And I don't suggest the error thing because you might have like error for something, error for other thing, and that can become a mess. Okay, so the uselines you have are just a personal preference or have any impact in Vue, like performance, avoid errors? Okay, so yeah, that's a good question. And let me get back to this part where we have the configuration for uselint. The essential ones, actually this plugin, Vue Essential, has like many rules. There, you can look for ESLint Vue, and the essential ones are essential because they do affect performance. So I will say, or they have other problems that if you don't use you make an error with those essential rules, you will have problems. So oh yeah, here are the rules. There are some base rules that you cannot disable. Then you have the essential ones, and actually let me see. Okay, yeah, these are for error prevention. So yeah, most basically all of these are to prevent errors and also performance issues. Then there's the strongly recommended, which these are just like styles, like personal preferences, like if you want HTML self-closing tags or stuff like that, you can enforce those things. And the priority C is recommended, and it's just minimizing arbitrary choices for your team to not discuss like, hey, we should not use we should have for example, ordering components is like you should put first data, then computed, then methods, or there's an order of those things, right? So I will say use the essentials, and the other ones, if you like them, use them too, or you can basically activate or deactivate the ones that you don't want. Cool. So I think those are all the questions, I believe. Well, thank you, everyone. And I would like for you to virtually clap for the mentors that were helping me answering all of the questions too. They're doing a great job, and they're volunteers. So I'm pretty grateful that they were helping me on this part of the course. And oh, okay, another question. What topics will you put in a VueJS advanced level course? Okay, probably I will put some extra tools like Nuxt.js, but that will be a course on itself, right? Nux.js is a framework that basically makes server-side rendering with Vue. Everything we did in our site is client-side server, right? So if you turn off JavaScript, it won't work. But if you use Nux.js, there's a lot of things that this framework does already out of the box and help you to server-side render, to handle big sites. Actually, the site I mentioned that has like 2 billion, or I don't remember how many billion requests per month, uses Nux.js. And well, other topics, I'm not sure, probably go deeper into Vuex or other, well, like for example, we didn't see animations. There's special components for animations in Vue. There's like a lot of things that could go in an advanced course. All right. Well, we're uh, we're on time, so thank you everyone for joining. As I mentioned, the video will be on YouTube so that you can rework all of this. And well, thank you everyone for joining this afternoon. Have a good time. See ya.